All right, let's do this short video. Well, relatively. We'll see how we go. So S&P fourth day down, orange gap, largely filled. The close wasn't great. I mean, look, we closed right at the low, so you could maybe look for the 50-day on Friday, which is another 43 points down. Also, daily momentum in the S&P's got to turn negative on Friday. Also, as a counter to that, the VIX daily momentum is going to turn positive. So you can kind of think, hey, VIX 16s, there's a gap in the 16s. You can see it there, it's not marked, but there's a gap in the VIX to the 16s, so we could pop there on Friday. But 16 VIX isn't anything to get excited about, is it? What else? I'm not gonna do any of the yearly settlements, not yet anyway. Um, just wondering about what to highlight. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, I mean, the miners, they were all down mostly because of silver, right? But the point is that the black candles played out, and you can argue that some stocks are they're still kind of midterm leading upwards, but it's a lot of chop. And if I go to first, not American Eagle, we'll skip that. But yeah, First Majestic Silver, look, black. Actually, look at this. Historic high there, black candle, reversal candle, black candle, reversal candle. And you think on in terms of momentum, we've only just seen a bearish cross like 2 days ago. We could go down in the minors for weeks, at least a couple of weeks, right? And in this case, it took another 2 weeks to put in a slightly divergent higher low. But yeah, miners and silver look short-term problematic. What else is there? Oh yeah, Decker's. I mean, Decker's down 1.3%. We clearly have a stall at the 200-day. Again, that's not surprising because the main market was down. But once this breaks up and away, which in theory it should soon, very soon, natural target is 125. Grander target is 150, which, if you go out a couple of months, looks realistic. Intel cooled back. I mean, you can argue that yesterday's candle was spiky from the 50-day and that played out, but I'm seeing background chatter on X. People talking about this going to $60 this year, 2026, yeah. But yeah, $60 Intel. That looks realistic. Of course, you have a yellow gap here, but you can even argue that on the initial gap, black candle, 2-day decline, and that's all the bears could muster. I don't think it's going to be filled. It might be, but I wouldn't be sure that. A few other things. Netflix flat. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh God, look at that. So late Wednesday night, one of my people told me that yeah, the CEO. It was announced that CEO bought $1 million of stock. Stock opened up around 2%. It chopped around a bit, but leaned upwards and settled up 4.1%. So this little red gap here looks out of range now. We have a break above the 10 MA. And yeah, you can argue that today's candle was spiky from the 50-day, but broadly, um, this looks set to test the 200-day, probably in a day or two, and then on to the 69s. You get any price action above 70, which I'm guessing it will. $70 will be a breakout threshold, and then we go up to the 79s. And on a monthly chart, you can maybe look for $90. So I'm not in the mood to chase, so I'm letting that one go. And there's other reasons as well, but still, it is one of my top two targets. Anything else? What did Rocket Lab do? I mean, look, Rocket Lab, black candle yesterday, down 1%. What's the structure? You know what the structure is, right? You can argue that's a bull flag. I would admit, cyclically, it's on the high end. This is not a buying zone, is it? You don't buy that. You don't buy that. You don't buy that. I mean, what you can hope if you just feel if you're an existing long already, you can just hope this kind of trends around, much like it did in October, early November. But got to be bullish Rocket Lab. Target was my fifth target. I actually closed up. It's kind of impressive. Um, you just need to see a couple of closes above, say, 100. Let's just call it 106, because that would take out the high from August. But yeah, if you go above 106, target is in green zone. That looks probable. Tesla was down again, another percent. Momentum's negative for a third day. It should level out either Friday or early next week. I mean, we know Q4 sales aren't good, right? United Health down 0.5%, just in line with the main market again. Breakout threshold, 200-day 344. So any price action above 345, and off we go. And that seems likely. It just seems a matter of not if, but when. And if you believe that United Health is going to go to 470, then you can't be bearish the main market, can you? What else? GDX, we'll cover the miners and gold before we disappear. So the miners were down 1.2%. Again, black candle yesterday played out. Daily momentum is increasingly negative. There's your sell signal yesterday. We could come down for a couple of weeks. Had any trouble? What's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin's just churning flat around 87K. Commodity gold. What the hell? That's got to be wrong, right? Gold didn't print 47.94, did it? It's got to be wrong. So that's what I call a false print. We have a false print of 47.94. There's no way that happened, did it? If I look at GLD, that won't have it on there. Yeah, GLD doesn't have it. So that's a quirky print on stock charts for gold. If we look at SL, actually, if we go to commodity silver. Okay, so yeah, I mean the silver closed down almost $5, 6.5%, 71.26. This isn't good, is it? This is I mean, you can argue that it's just chopping around, ready to go back up, but this looks broken. Momentum will turn negative either on Friday or no later than Monday. And once you get that sell signal so we're going to get sell signal on silver within 1 or 2 days. And silver can come down for a good 2, 3 weeks without any trouble, right? And then come down to the 50 there. I mean, I was babbling about this a few days ago, right? Silver could easily come down to $60, 60, and there's a 58 there. So we're talking about a good $11 or so minimum. You could even argue we're going to back test $50 before we resume upwards. That would be a hell of a upset to some of the silver people out there. SLV on an hourly, and this one's a bit of a mess. Look, 71s, 64s, 70, slightly higher high. Gaps down today. Opening reversal candle, but then it rolls over again, partly pressured by the main market. We're now we are sustainably back under the 10 MA again. You got all these gaps down here. Look, there's the 200 MA on an hourly. We could easily go down to the 57s, right? Yeah. Anything else? World markets I'll cover in a weekend post. I guess the gold and silver miners I'll cover at the weekend. Yeah. Actually, well, you know what? The one I should actually, I'll close actually with this one. Yeah, this is a good one to close with. It's a year-to-date performance. So, yeah, this will do. This is the way to end the year. So, silver net yearly gain, 146.7%. Note the divergent lower high. Definitely leans bearish. But anyway, regardless of the actual price, short-term price action, silver 146% on a year. Gold 64.5%. Copper, which is being overlooked by a lot of people, copper was up 41.7%. Equities, the S&P was up 16.4%. That's a very respectable gain. You can't knock a 16% gain in a year. That's fine. Bonds, TLT up 4.25%, and oil effectively down 20% year over year, which is a very bonus prop to the US global economy. It would be a real problem if oil was sustainably above, especially if it went above 100. But that's a long way up. And of course, the obvious question is, well, okay, silver, gold, and silver and copper have had a good year. Equities had a pretty good year, but what about next year? I mean, I think equities could do another 15, 20%. Copper looks similarly 30% more again. Gold, what is it, 4,300? I mean, I think 7K looks realistic. That's $2,700 on 43, which is, another 50, 60%, but it's doable. And silver's what? Whatever it is. You could easily have silver. I think silver above 125 looks realistic, probable next year. But yeah, we'll end with that. So an interesting, somewhat bearish end of the month to the year, but really, it's kind of expected. And that's a case of can the bears, can the bulls break above S&P 7K, which in theory they should. And I'm seeing lots of background chatter talking about a bullish Q1 and then leaning weak. But I'm thinking not to get too finicky about Q2 and even Q3 and just think, look, net bullish all the way until the SpaceX IPO, which probably isn't going to be until September. So, we're going to get sporadic drops, but I wouldn't expect anything particularly dramatic unless there's a geopolitical upset, which of course is always possible. But anyway, for what it's worth, hope you get through New Year's Eve okay, and onwards into the unknown of another year on Planet Crazy. Be good.